Hey neighbor, this has been one of the greatest innovations for the home gardener, drip irrigation. Makes it easy, makes your crops look better. It just makes life fun when you can use drip irrigation. I've been using drip irrigation for about 25 years. Now I know when I started, I was intimidated by the setup and by the design and by how to use drip irrigation. So it's okay if you're a little bit intimidated or scared to jump into it. I don't know if it was explained to me complicated or I just tried to make it more complicated than it really is. But the fact of the matter is, it is extremely easy to design and to use drip irrigation. There's just a couple little things you got to understand, get your head wrapped around that, and you'll be amazed at what you can do with drip irrigation as far as design and installation. It is really simple, and for some reason or another, people overcomplicate it or they're intimidated by it. Today, what we want to do is try to make you rest easy about drip irrigation and let you know anybody can do it. There's just a few key things that we need to know. And that is pressure and volume of your water source. Now, pressure is the amount of pressure that water is going to push out of your water spigot right here. Pressure, normally speaking, is okay for most homeowners. Now, we do get the question occasionally, can I run drip irrigation system off a gravity-fed system? The answer is yes, but it's not feasible. You have to have your gravity irrigation system up 35 to 40 feet to generate enough pressure to run the drip irrigation system. So it is possible, but it's not feasible. Most of you guys, including me, either work off a city water system or either a well. And most of the time, our wells and our city water systems are anywhere between 35 and 50 PSI, and that's actually pressure. That is something we need to be concerned about, but not the most important thing. The most important thing is volume, and that's the amount of water that we're pushing out of here. Now, volume and pressure is two different things. A lot of people confuse them, but don't confuse them because they're completely different. I'm going to show you today how you measure how much volume you got coming out. I've got a 5-gallon bucket. I got a water hose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure and see how long or how much water I can put in that 5-gallon bucket in 1 minute. So I'm working off a well here, and it took 30 seconds to fill up this 5-gallon bucket. That means I am putting out volume-wise 10 gallons per minute. Now, most water systems in cities and things like that, you can count on at least 5 gallons per minute, but I got 10 gallons per minute here working off my own well. So at 10 gallons per minute, I am putting out about 600 gallons per hour. If you was doing 5 gallons per minute, then that would mean you putting out 300 gallons per hour. That's important because we need to know that to kind of calculate how much drip tape or drip irrigation we can run per zone. Now, moving on to the actual irrigation system, this right here is 5/8 tubing. This is the backbone of any of our drip irrigation systems. Any kit that you buy from us will have this 5/8 tubing in here. For our vegetable gardens where we use drip tubing and drip tape, this is used as the trunk line or the lateral line. For our other systems, such as our container kit or our fruit tree kit, you would run this down through your row and hook your emitters to it. My point is it's used on everything. This is the backbone where we start at with our drip irrigation kit. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is what we call our filter regulator combo. Now, we go ahead and assemble these for you guys because there's 4 different parts here. It's just easier for us to put these things together and sell them that way. We sell these parts individually, but we just find it's very convenient to sell them also as a kit already installed and put together. What we have here is our hose connector right here that hooks up to a water hose, and then we go into a filter. See if I can get this off here. This has a screen filter inside of it right here. Now, this catches all that rust that might come out of your pipes, or it catches any trash. I clean this out periodically, probably not as much as I should. And then from there, we go to a pressure regulator. This particular one is a 12 PSI. Now, you heard me talk about pressure just a minute ago. Any pressure that is between 20 to 25 up to 55 pounds, which is normally what we see off wells in city water systems, will work fine here. because we come into this filter regulator combo and we reduce the pressure going in our drip system, because our drip systems cannot handle the high pressure. So pressure is not that important if we fall between that range of 20 to 25 to 55. Now, if we get over 55, and I have seen these in some mountain regions where the water supply may be coming off a very high hill or mountain, and you live down in the valley, I have seen some extreme pressures, but we normally don't see that. But if you do have more than 55 PSI, it can cause this to malfunction. And we have to do something before that to get it down in between of our range to 20 to 25, up to 55 pounds of pressure or PSI. On our drip tape systems, we use the 12 PSI. On our drip tubing systems, we use the 20 PSI. Exactly, both of them have the same setup. It's just a difference in the pressure regulator there. We put these together so that they hook up to a water hose, so you can, you don't have to have a water supply right there at this. You could just run your water hose over there and hook this up when you get ready to irrigate. Now this is a swivel here. Sometimes we have leakage in between there. The key here is both of these have to be really tight when you put them on, and you may have to use something like a pair of channel locks or vice grips to get it tight. Once you get this tight, it seals up in there and it will not leak anymore. But if you're leaking at this joint right here, check two things. Make sure your water hose washer is inside there, and make sure this is nice and tight. If it is, you won't have any leak. So now that we come out of this system right here, we're going through our pressure regulator, our filter and everything, we're ready to hook up to our mainline tubing. Now this mainline tubing comes in rolls, and it does have a little bit of memory to it. I like to lay this out and maybe pin it down or something to get it straight and let the sun hit it for a couple of hours, and it will straighten out somewhat. When we get ready to hook up our filter regulator combo right here, we want to make sure that this nut, whoops, I did it backwards, is backed all the way off. This is actually kind of reversed of what you would think when you get ready to hook this up, but it's got a barb fitting right there. So we just want to say, take it simply like that right there, wiggle a little bit, and it fits over that barb. And then we take this nut and we thread it backwards, and it locks down and secures that mainline tubing in place. And now what we have got is we got our trunk line ready to start our irrigation system. Now let's talk about what type of tubing you need to use that applies to the type of gardening you do. This right here is what we call drip tape. This is our best seller right here. This is for the large vegetable gardener that likes to grow in rows and has rows up to 100 foot long. This tape here is the 8 mil tape here, and it has emitters every 12 inches. Those little bumps right there indicate where my emitters is at. What's wonderful about this tape is pressure equalizing out. So it doesn't matter if you're running uphill or downhill or whatever, it equalizes out, and each emitter puts out the exact same amount. This is the tape I use when I'm running longer than 30-foot rows. Now I normally bury this, or either I staple it in to keep it in place, because it is kind of light, and if you get a windstorm down through there, it can blow it around a little bit. So you want to secure this tape in place here. Let's talk about how much water this puts out. 0.4 gallons per 100 foot per minute is the output of this tape here. And that's important when we start thinking about how much water we're putting out and how much of this drip tape we can run at one time. Now I'm going to give you an example of how much this tape you could run per zone if you've got 5 gallons per minute. Remember we said earlier that 5 gallons per minute is pretty much normal of what everybody's got. You really need to just take your 5 gallon bucket to double check it. But let's say you got 5 gallons per minute. That means you could run 12 100 foot rows of this at the same time. You would have enough volume to support that much drip tape there. Now there's other ways of getting around this, but that just gives you an idea of how much of this you could run off just 5 gallons per minute water supply. Now this right here is another option. This is drip tubing. This has emitters right here built in every 6 inches. This right here is the perfect system if your rows are less than 30 foot long. If they're longer than 30 foot, this will not work for your application. This is the tubing right here that we use and recommend for raised beds and for smaller gardens. It's a little bit easier to use. The water output is a little bit higher, and it's what we categorize as a plug-and-play system. My wife installed her own drip irrigation, her raised beds. Anybody can do this right here. It's really simple. The water output on this right here is 0.5 gallons per emitter per hour. And I like to simply say it puts out a gallon per foot because we got 2 emitters per foot here. So a gallon per hour per foot. All right, so let's go again with that 5 gallons per minute that we're doing output. How much of this can you run at one time? Well, you could run 10 30-foot rows. You could run 300 foot. Remember, we can't go beyond 30 feet in a row with this right here, but you could run 10 30-foot rows of this at one time with your water supply at 5 gallons per minute. Now, the last option here I'm going to talk about, and there's lots more than this, but I'm just going to cover these 3 today. This right here is called an emitter. If we're doing containers or we're doing fruit trees, anything that's not a vegetable garden, and we need spacing more than 2 or 3 feet, say you plant blueberry bushes, you got them every 5 foot. This would be the ideal thing right here to use that. It's called an emitter. It punches in to our main line, just like that right there, and it puts out 1 gallon per hour. So that's pretty easy to figure. You're putting out 1 gallon per hour. You're putting out 5 gallons per minute out of your volume, so that's 300 gallons per hour. So you theoretically can run 300 of these on one zone if you're putting out 5 gallons per minute. Well, there's some more options than that. As I told you earlier, this drip irrigation is really versatile. You can do just about anything with it. We actually have cutoff valves that you could put on each individual line. So I told you how many you could run off one zone, but let's just say you don't plant all that one time, or you planted something that matured off and you harvest it and you don't need to water that line. We have these cutoff valves that you can put on the beginning of each line so that you can manage each line individually. This one right here is what we call our row start with valve. Simply just put it into our main line right there, and you got a valve on there that you can turn on or off. This little valve right here, which I highly recommend to everybody, you can use this on your drip tubing, and it's also a cutoff valve that you just turn on or off there. So you got a raised bed that's not needing water and that's maybe not got anything in it, and you turn your whole system on, just simply install this little cutoff valve here, and you can cut that particular raised bed off or that line on or off as you need it. All right, so let's punch some of these row starts into the main line right here. We normally use a little tool just like this right here. Simply take it, put it in there, put a little pressure on it, and you just turn it, twist it, and you'll feel it as you go through right there. All right, so I'm going to actually put in the row start with a valve on there. Take it, you'll see there's a barb fitting on it right there. We take that, we just kind of push, and you can actually hear it pop when it sets. The next one I'm going to put in is going to be the drip tubing. We use these little transfer barbs right here. Now this does not have the cutoff on it. If you wanted to add the cutoff, you would have to add a short amount there of the regular tubing, then add your cutoff. But I'm going to show you how we use the transfer barb, which goes into the main line right here. And we just do it the same way. Kind of push a little bit, twist a little bit, and it punches that hole in there. Then we take it. There again, we hear it pop. The last one I'm going to do is going to be the emitter here. You always put the black side in. Now, this is just for demonstration purposes because you normally wouldn't have 3 different ones going in there. You would have all the same ones. This is my lateral main line here. And these fittings right here, you can use the regular row start that doesn't have the cutoff valve, or to use one with the cutoff valve. And this fitting right here works for the 8 mil or the 15 mil tape. And you just simply take it, put it on there. You kind of have to wiggle a little bit, get it on there, and then you back this nut right here back off, and it holds it in place. And that's what attaches our drip tape. All right, so if you're doing drip tubing, take your tubing here, you got that little barb right there that we put in there, simply stick it on top of that, wiggle, and it's on there. As I call it, the plug and play system. And you see there. Now, the one that's a little out of the ordinary that you would not use in this particular situation, I just want to show you how easy they are to put in, is the emitters. For container garden, this thing's perfect here, or for fruit trees. Now, I like to flush my system after I get all my irrigation run. In case I got any dirt or anything inside the line there, I can flush it out the end. The First thing I'm gonna flush is gonna be my mainline tubing. You simply take a figure 8 like this right here, slide it on there, and you kind of twist it around like right there, and that's it right there. That stops off from that line there. After I flush my line out, I put that on there, and now I'm pushing water out the end of my drip tape, my drip tubing, or whatever. After I flush out my drip tape, I take this right here, stick it on there, go through there, fold this over a time or two, stick it back, and that secures the end of the line. And on my drip tubing, we use what we call a goof plug. It looks just like the transfer bar, but it doesn't have a hole through it. Go to the end after I flush it out and just stick it in there like that. Now we have plugged the end of that line. So whether you're doing raised beds or smaller garden with rows less than 30 feet, or larger gardens where you have rows that are longer than 30 feet but less than 100 foot, or you have containers, or you have a fruit orchard, it really doesn't matter. There is a drip irrigation application that will work for you. And it's simple, it's easy. Don't be intimidated by it like I was back in the day. Simple to understand. Heck, we'll do all we can to help you. We got a lot of good information on our website. You can call customer service. We will help you figure it out. It's easy. And once you put it in and once you start using drip irrigation, you will understand it's a game changer.